Pastor Ray Bentley of Maranatha Chapel in San Diego, California, partnered with best-selling authors Brock and Brodie Theone to write a trilogy that mixes current events, Jerusalem, and prophecy in modern-day thrillers. I talked with Pastor Bentley about the trilogy and why he believes prophecy is unfolding before our very eyes. So, Pastor Ray, you and Bodie Theone have co-authored a trilogy, the Jack Garrison novels,
Yes.
The Mountain of the Lord, the Threshing Floor, and the Cyrus Mandate. I find it particularly interesting and exciting. I live here in Jerusalem, and I felt like you were taking me into the city itself. So it was a great work. Tell us about the trilogy.
By God's amazing grace, I got to meet Bodie and her husband, Brock, a few years ago. And, I had read their series in the Zion Chronicles and all of their, it's great history, great storytelling. Brock is the researcher and Bodie's the storyteller. Then I got to meet them. And shortly thereafter, I had an idea, because they've mostly written, kind of historical fiction novels that have a lot of biblical truth, prophecy in them about the past, either the first century, the rebirth of Israel, 1948, 1967. But they've never written anything contemporary about what's happening literally right now. Well, that's what God's put a fire in my heart. Maranata Chapel, a Jesus people guy. Jesus is coming soon, and Israel's kind of the sign, the clock on the wall. So I called them and I said, hey, Brock and Bodie, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but would you consider, joining together, and I'll kind of provide how I'm seeing prophetic things coming to pass, and you wrap that in a story. Brock, you do the research. And they prayed about it and they said, oh man, we are excited about this. And so we launched this series, and it's about this American character named Jack Garrison, who has had a tragedy in his life, like, many believers maybe in America. And he's kind of lost his faith to a great degree. And he doesn't believe in prophecies and the Bible relating to end times. But he is in a unique position to be sent on a peacekeeping commission to go to Israel and the Middle East and Europe and try to forge a peace deal. And basically he goes on this tremendous journey of discovery that, oh my gosh, this is really happening. The Bible is really coming alive.
Well, you have a wonderful way, you and Brock and Bodie, of sort of weaving in the Bible and prophecy and history and current events. For example,
Yes.
You talk about the Abraham Accords in a prophetic sense. Tell us about
Yes.
how you wove all that together.
I think that people, even Christians, many times they look, they see the big picture of what's going on, but they don't know, what does that really mean? And what Brock and Bodie have been able to do is to put that in a story, but bring it in a context where characters get to talk about, what does this mean? And basically, the Abraham Accords, as you well know, are historic to the degree there has never, all the way going back to Abraham, there has never been a peace agreement that goes all the way back to Abraham between his two sons, Isaac and Ishmael, that the coming together. You know what happened, obviously, with having two moms. You've got Ishmael has Hagar, and then Isaac with his mom, Sarah. So they're kind of divided and they go in different directions. Interestingly, they only come together at the end of the book of Genesis when Abraham dies. But the last scene that is given is that Abraham is their father, is the one that brought these two brothers together. Well, Chris, what's happening today is that the descendants of Ishmael, which are much of the Arab and Muslim world, are now saying, we would like to be reconciled. And they're calling it, this is a political deal. They're the ones that are calling it the Abraham Accords. So that's like, Israel's like, we could make peace with 90% of our former enemies, mostly within the Sunni Muslim world, the Arab Muslim world, and partly driven by the other side, the Shiite side, the Iranian side, that's wanting to take over Saudi Arabia, and they have a whole different eschatology, but they're not related to the Jewish people. Iranians do not have any blood ties, and they're wanting to threaten Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia is like, hey, we need Israel, we need our brother and brothers and sisters, and And so I just think it's fascinating that God is using modern geopolitics to literally drive and compel the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael back together under the same tent with the name before the whole world of Abraham. So what I want to tell Christians, and that's what this whole book series is about, is that this has never happened in 4,000 years. I mean, we are living in unprecedented times for many reasons, but that's one of them. And of course, the Bible talks about there will be a driving peace deal that is finally put together in the end times. And, that opens the whole scenario of the book of Revelation. So there's a lot of exciting, fun things to talk about, but I think people need to connect the dots and begin to pray because, not to go immediately to, it's going to be the end of the world and all these bad things are going to happen. But this is a healing time. This is a meaningful time. We're to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I think God is going to use this season of peace to bring a lot of healing, a lot of, melting of hearts, and a lot of good can come from this season. So, but we need to be aware what time it is. So it's been fun to put that in a story and let people read it, discover it, and get excited about it.